Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here, and today we are taking a look at Touch of Evil, the supernatural game, and that is from Jason C. Hill over at Flying Frog Productions. So, I don't know if I would say in many ways, but I often think that A Touch of Evil is Flying Frog's best game. Or at least it is my favorite playing of their games. I kind of feel like it's the perfect level of fiddliness mixed with the perfect amount of theme and action and adventure. So A Touch of Evil is just absolutely dripping in theme. It's drowning in theme. It's slathered in theme. I mean, this thing is one of the most thematic playing games that I have ever played. It really does feel like you are playing an old Hammer Studios horror film. One of the early Dracula movies or any of their of course, my mind is completely blanking on the Hammer Studio movies that I was thinking of. A Plague of Zombies, that's the one. Ah, God, what a great movie that is. And everything about this game works together to create a totally thematic and somewhat crazy, somewhat chaotic, almost always exciting experience. So set up on the board right now, I have a game in progress, and I have the base game set up along with the Something Wicked expansion, which is the only expansion I have for this. The Coast expansion has been out of print for some time, and it can be very expensive. Now, this game came out in 2008, so it's 10 years old, over 10 years old now, and they were supposed to do a new reprint, like a 10-year special edition, and I'm hoping they do that with the expansions. I really want to get that third expansion, even though it won't fit on my little gaming table in my hobby room. But yeah, so the game takes place, the main board is the city and the surrounding area of Shadowbrook. And in the game, the players are going to be playing as investigators. Now, this game can be played in a number of ways, competitively or cooperatively. I've only ever played cooperatively because I think the game is much more fun like that. But both systems, from what I can tell, work well. So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to start your adventure, your investigation in the town hall in the little city of Shadowbrook. And you're going to be moving out throughout the realm, throughout the countryside. And you can also explore this expansion board called Echo Lake, which has a number of other areas, but you're going to be exploring around, going to different spaces, different environments like the windmill, the manor, the covered bridge, the marsh, the abandoned keep, and you're going to be trying to get these investigation tokens. So these are kind of like the main currency of the game. And with those investigation tokens, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using them to buy items from the blacksmith. So you'll have a whole bunch of different items you can buy in the town. Or there's also a space on the expansion board for the monastery, which also has some thematic elements that you can purchase, some thematic items that can help you on your quest. But you're going to be taking that investigation that you're finding, buying items. Also, you're going to be searching for clues that take the form of these layer cards. Now these layers are going to be used for you to be able to find out where the evil monster that you are hunting, where it has one of its bases. So then you can go to that spot, like the inn or the town hall, the inn, the magistrate's office, the monastery, the Forgotten Island. You can go to that spot, do an investigation, discover the big bad, and have a final showdown with it, trying to kill it. Another thing you're going to be trying to do as you're investigating the mysteries of Shadowbrook is dealing with the town elders. So when you set up the game, you're going to have 6 different town elders. And each one of these elders starts out as a good character. And each one, at the beginning of the game, is dealt a secret. And throughout the game, they can acquire other secrets. And you can spend your investigation to figure out the secrets that the elders are keeping. Sometimes, for instance, here we have Reverend Harding. He had a secret, but it's a good secret. He was a selfless martyr, so he's going to help you in the fight against the evil. And when you go to fight the big bad, the evil, you can take him with you as part of a hunting party. And he will help you by attacking. He will add a special skill to your character. And then depending on his secret, he can add another special power. But some of the elders are harboring evil secrets. And they, for instance, if this character here, the Magistrate Croft, if he turned out to be evil, you would flip him over and he becomes the executioner. And then he goes and he works with the bad guy. So in this game right now I have set up, I randomly selected the Banshee as the monster that I'm trying to investigate, hunt, and kill. So she is the main villain. She's a ghost and she's soulless. So those are keywords that might trigger other powers that you have. And she has the Wailing Death. Echoing through the foggy night, the shrill wail of the Banshee spreads terror across the land. Freezing her victims on the spot, she descends from the sky to devour their souls. So she has a number of special powers that she will trigger throughout the game. When she fights you, she's going to roll 7 dice. And then she also takes 4 wounds to kill, although she has an extra wound because my investigation right now is taking quite some time. So like most Flying Frog games, you have a depth track or an evil track, a doom track, something that keeps track of your time. And periodically as you draw different cards, you're going to be moving down this track. And as you get to these certain spots, well, the main enemy gets stronger. Additionally, the main villains will have a minion chart, and this dictates what kind of minions they have working for them, what kind of certain powers they have, and you're going to be rolling on this chart periodically. So the Banshee, she has an Echo of the Moon, something that happens that heroes have to make a certain kind of test, an honor test. She can send out her Barrow Shades to infest the land. And then she has this Groundskeeper, this guy here, who's constantly kind of moving around the map. And as you fight him, it's really thematic because you're kind of just like beating him up to get investigation tokens to learn about the secrets of the Banshee. And there's only one of him. And then every once in a while on your minion chart, the Banshee can swoop down from the sky and attack your heroes out of it's not a showdown phase, but it's a little kind of, you know, in these movies where the heroes, they meet the main villain, the big bad guy, before the climactic battle, and they do like a little pre-fight, and maybe they learn something about like, oh, the Banshee, you know, she's susceptible to spirit attacks or something. So you're gonna, if you can fight and win the Banshee in this little minion chart attack, then you'll get some investigation to help you on your main quest. So in this particular game, I am using 2 characters. I am playing as Katrina the Outlaw. And right now, Katrina has 8 investigation. She has a +1 to her combat roll. So, like most Flying Frog games, you have a certain amount of stats: spirit, cunning, combat, and honor. And the number here tells you how many dice you're going to roll whenever you have to make it a test. And then, like always, a 5 or a 6 is a success. But she is an outlaw, so she's deadly. So when she's rolling any dice for a fight dice check, she hits on a 4, 5, or 6. So that's pretty cool. And the other one is Eliza the Witch Hunter. So right now she has 7 investigation. Here are her stats. And she has quite a few special powers. So she's a zealot. She can take 2 wounds. May take a wound to gain a +2 to any of her stats for a single test. She is part of the Inquisition, so anytime that she is questioning the elders about their loyalty, investigating their secrets, she can gain 4 investigation for certain cards that are revealed. And then she also has a +2 to her fight dice against ghosts, demons, and magic enemies. So I chose my heroes and my main villain randomly, but it turned out really well. We have these 2 badass women who are both fighters. One of them is a physical fighter and the other one is kind of a spiritual fighter, and they are fighting another woman who is a ghost. And so Eliza the Witch Hunter, her ability to be better at fighting against ghosts really helps me out. And like all the Flying Frog games, A Touch of Evil, just the theme, it does all of the components and the gameplay do such a good job of creating these neat little intricate stories based only on the outcome of chance. For instance, one of the first cards, so at the end of every turn, you're going to draw a mystery card. And the mystery cards are kind of like what's going on in the background. These cards represent what the villains are doing while your heroes are investigating. And they're going to have you do different things. Most of these, almost all of them, are bad. They're going to be moving the doom track closer to the end. And they're going to be populating the board with different tests that the heroes are going to have to overcome. So one of those mystery cards caused there to be a murder at the abandoned keep. And so something bad happened there. But then I drew another card and it told me I can put a militia anywhere. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to put the militia at the abandoned keep because, like, you know, they heard about the murder, so they ran over there. And when you fight at a space with a militia, it gives you a bonus. But then the next time I drew a card, it was I had to roll on the minion chart for the Banshee. And I rolled for one of her Barrow Shades. And then when a Barrow Shade comes out, you draw a random location from the layer deck to find out where it goes. And I drew the abandoned keep. So it was so cool. Just in these 3 random card draws, it created this whole little scenario here where a Barrow Shade appeared at the abandoned keep. Maybe it was like resurrected from the ruins in some kind of satanic ritual. It killed somebody there. The militia rushed over. More investigation tokens spawned over here because this was like a hotbed of supernatural activity. And so then I came over there to investigate, killed the Banshee, or killed the Barrow Shade, got some investigation. And now I'm still there to maybe linger there and encounter the space. So on these big namespaces on the board, each one of those will have a deck of cards that you will draw from that dictate what happens at that spot. And they're all thematically tied to that area in a pretty cool way. So you'll discover items, you'll have fights, you'll have tests, You'll meet allies that can help you on your quest. And so that's basically what you're doing, is you're going around, you're trying to beef up your character, trying to get investigation, trying to figure out which of the town elders are working against you or working with you. And you're trying to figure out where the villain is going to appear in order to have a big climactic final showdown. So there's a lot thematically going on, but what is really nice about this game is that it's not too cumbersome, it's not too fiddly. It doesn't overstay its welcome at lower player counts. I've never played with, like, I think you can play with 5 or 6. I've only ever played with up to 3. And the games last almost kind of like, I would say, a perfect amount of time if you're focused on it. And while there are a lot of elements, I mean, there's a ton of cards, right? You have quite a few cardboard chits here. Most of them, once you set up the board, most of them, like all of these over here and most of these, will just stay in the box. You'll never have to touch them once you set the game up. But it's not a cumbersome game to play. It's actually quite simple. And I think that that fact does tend to turn some gamers off. I would say that this is a slightly more in-depth Talisman, because at its core, you are still doing the basic things you are in Talisman. For instance, you are rolling to move. So here's a sample turn. I just finished up my last villain phase, so it is my hero phase. And right now, Katrina the Outlaw is the first hero, so it's her turn right now. She's in the inn. She just had a little, what happened to her? She was in the inn, and I think she had she ran into she fought. She was at the inn, she healed up, and then the groundskeeper was there. So she had to fight the groundskeeper. And the groundskeeper fled, and he fled to the North Dock. And funny enough, the Banshee was already there from a previous turn. So again, these like random elements formed this really cool little narrative where the Banshee had swooped down and attacked somebody at the North Dock. I went to the inn, and the groundskeeper was there, up to no good, no doubt. I fought him, and he fled over to the North Dock, maybe to, console the Banshee or find out what she wants him to do next. But one of the things you have to do when you fight the Banshee is she becomes more powerful for every hero with less than 4 spirit. And right now, Katrina has a spirit of 2, and Eliza has a spirit of 3. So I'm trying to boost their strength. Now, I know that there are some items at the monastery, and the item decks you can always look through. They're not considered decks, they're considered cards. So you can always look through them to find out what you want to buy. So I know there are some items at the monastery that will boost my spirit. So I'm heading over to the monastery to try to get one of those items. So I'm going to roll for my movement. Okay, so I rolled a 5. If you ever roll a 1, you get to pick an event card. Now, event cards are almost always good, and you can have an unlimited amount of these. In the co-op game, there is an option where you can play where all of your event cards are pooled together, which is really cool. But if you ever roll a 1, you get to draw one of these, kind of like getting a grit in Shadows of Brimstone. But she didn't roll a 1, she rolled a 5. So she can move over to the monastery. And when you first land in a space, or when you pass through a space that has a monster, a minion, a villain on it, you have to stop your turn and fight that monster. But there's no monsters here, so I'm at the monastery. She's going in, she's talking to the monks, asking about their wares, asking what she can buy. But so buy monastery items here. If attacked while lingering here, lingering means if I stay there more than 1 turn, I have to fight the Crimson Hand. So those of you who are familiar with Flying Frog Productions with their games. You all know the Order of the Crimson Hand appears in almost all of their games, at least in Fortune and Glory and Shadows of Brimstone and this. And so I kind of like that. I like that thematic element that ties all of their games into a cohesive universe. The Flying Frogs production universe. But anyway, so I'm at the monastery, and now I'm going to buy this. This is an Oath of Devotion. It's going to cost me 2 investigation. Okay, so I'm going to take that investigation. I'm going to put that there. And then this card is going to give me a +1 spirit. So it is a monastery item. It's an oath, and it's holy. You gain the keyword holy. Does not count against carrying limit. Limit 1 oath. So the carrying limit is you can only have 1 card per space. So I can only have 1 monastery item. I can have 1 item from the inn, 1 item from the windmill, the manor, etc. So right now, Katrina the Outlaw, she got her spirit up to 3. So I want to try to get it up 1 more. But I think her turn is going to be done now. So now we can go back over to Eliza over here at the Abandoned Keep. Now there's quite a bit of investigation still to do here. So I think I am going to stay there. I still roll the movement die to see if I roll a 1 to get an event, and I don't. So she's going to linger there. She's going to stay there. And I can't remember offhand. I don't think there's something negative about lingering. Let's see. A hero may linger. If he rolls, then remains on the space he's already in. Roll a d6. On a 1, I have to have a minion encounter. So let's see if anything happens to me by lingering at the Abandoned Keep, if I unearth any more evil. And no, I do not. So I'm at the Abandoned Keep now. And the first thing I have to do is encounter that space. So that's the Abandoned Keep. I'm going to come here, shuffle this up. One thing about the cards from the different expansions is that, of course, they were made at different times, and it looks like at different places, and so they are different sizes, unfortunately. And they are the old Flying Frog production style cards, which are just really thick, kind of crappy cardboard and super freaking glossy. For some reason, they made everything really glossy when they were first starting out. All right, so let's see what I encountered at the Abandoned Keep. Jack the Servant Boy. He is an ally, male and a youth. You may carry 1 extra item or ally from a single location or 1 extra town item. Okay, so this is an ally, so he's going to basically be carrying stuff for me, and he has 1 wound. So I'll put that next to my next to Eliza to know that he's hanging out with her now. And now I can try to gain this investigation. And the way you do that is you can make a spirit or a cunning check. So both of my stats on that are 3. So I'm going to take 3 dice, and any 5 or 6, I get to take I get to take a point of investigation. All right, good roll, 2 6s. So she's going to investigate the Abandoned Keep, take those 2, put that on her card. So she now has 9. So what else she can do? So here's what all you can do. So first you have to move, then you have to fight any monsters in your space. Then you can take as many actions as you want. This one, encountering the space, which we just did, is mandatory. Then you can try to collect investigation, you can heal a wound, you can look at a town elder's secret, you can buy a layer card, or you can start a showdown. So she's going to spend 2 investigation, and she's going to investigate Sophie the Midwife. So Sophie the Midwife has a 5, 2, and 5. She can cancel any mystery card in play or event as it is played on a d6 roll of 3 up. So let's see what secret Sophie has. Sophie is a coward. This town elder has gone through life with a boastful roar and an arrogant bravado. In reality, when confronted with the most trivial of threats, they are reduced to a whimpering, quivering lump. just as likely to soil themselves as they are to run screaming into the night. While part of the hunting party, roll a d6 at the start of each showdown. On a 1, 2, or 3, this town elder runs away and is placed back in town. Okay, well, she's not evil, but she is a coward, so I don't know if we could rely on her during the showdown. And that was not one of Eliza's special secret cards, so she doesn't gain any special investigation for that. So that would be the hero's turn. And then we go to the what's called the mystery phase, and this is where we find out what the enemy is doing. So you have a 4-step process. Anything that happens at the beginning of the mystery phase, you do that. If any of the heroes are KO'd, they stand up, so nobody's ever really knocked out of the game during the main part of the game. If the villain had been hurt at all because of a showdown, the villain heals a certain amount. And then finally, you draw a mystery card. And this is going to tell us what the villain has been up to. All right, the roads aren't safe. It's a mystery. Roll once on the villain's minion chart. The player who drew this card, so first player, so that was Katrina. The player who drew this card chooses any empty space on the board to place that minion. And now move the shadow track 1 step closer. So the shadow track would go closer. We would roll on the minion chart. So we would roll a d6. And we rolled a 2. And so that means that a Barrow Shade comes out. And now Katrina can put that anywhere on the board. And I think Katrina is going to put that at the manor. And so that's basically an entire turn. The fiddliness comes just kind of in the amount of powers you have to think of as you start collecting more cards, remembering what your cards can do, remembering how certain keywords trigger off each other, and just keeping track of little stats. It's nothing nearly as robust as something like folklore or sword and sorcery or even Descent, really. This is a pretty simple game. And I think that is a huge bonus because oftentimes I think that designers, they really try to, as games are getting more complex in both thematic qualities and in terms of mechanisms, I feel like they're adding more mechanisms as a way to hopefully make the theme feel more robust, maybe trying to make it more of a simulation rather than an abstraction. And this game keeps the mechanisms on a really simple level and just lets the theme shine through in every single way. So if you haven't played the game yet, check it out. It's an old game. I bet everybody who watches my channel has played it, but I really did just want to give this game some props because every time I play it, I have a blast. It's super fun. It plays great solo with 2 heroes, and that's my sweet spot. And so, yeah, A Touch of Evil, the supernatural game from Flying Frog Productions. Check it out if you haven't. Hopefully this piqued your interest. So, all right, take it easy, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.